Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's talk about something that's a huge part of life for so many people, but is often, well, misunderstood and just not treated seriously enough. We're going to decode menstrual pain and really figure out what's going on. While a lot of people might think of it as just some discomfort, check this out. For 1 in every 10 women, this pain is so bad, it completely disrupts their life for up to 3 days every single month. That's not just an inconvenience, right? That's a serious health issue we need to talk about.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at just how common this is, get into the science behind the pain, figure out the different types, check out a whole toolkit of ways to get relief, and super important, know when it's time to talk to a doctor.
Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What are we actually talking about when we say menstrual pain?
So the official medical term is dysmenorrhea. And get this, it's not some rare thing at all. More than half of all women who menstruate experience it to some degree. That's huge, which is exactly why it's so important we understand it.
And it's so much more than just cramps in your stomach, right? We're talking about a whole collection of symptoms that can really knock you out. The timeline is usually pretty predictable. It kicks in a day or 3 before the period starts, really peaks about 24 hours in, and then, thankfully, it starts to ease up over the next couple of days.
Okay, so we get what it feels like, but what is actually going on in your body to cause all that pain? Well, the answer is all about chemistry, our body's own chemistry, to be exact. All right, so the main culprits here are these things called prostaglandins. Think of them like little messengers. Their job is super important. They tell the uterine muscles to contract so they can shed the uterine lining. That's what a period is. The problem is, sometimes these messengers get a little, well, let's say they get a little too enthusiastic.
It's basically a chain reaction. See, the prostaglandin levels shoot up right before your period. That makes the uterus contract, sometimes really, really strongly. And when that happens, the contractions can actually squeeze the blood vessels, which cuts off the oxygen supply to the muscle for a bit. And yep, that's what causes the pain. The key thing to get here is that it's a direct link. The more of these prostaglandins you have, the worse the cramps are going to be.
Okay, this next part is super important. You have to understand that not all menstrual pain is created equal. From a medical standpoint, it's split into 2 totally different types. And knowing which is which, that's the key to figuring out what to do about it. So here's the breakdown. On one hand, you've got primary dysmenorrhea. This is your standard period pain, the kind caused by those prostaglandins we were just talking about. It's not because of any disease, it's just part of the process. But then you have secondary dysmenorrhea, and this one is different. This pain is actually a red flag. It's your body's way of telling you there might be another health problem going on.
And what kind of problems are we talking about? Well, it could be caused by conditions like endometriosis. That's where a tissue that's supposed to be inside the uterus grows outside of it, or things like uterine fibroids. This is exactly why pain that's really bad, or pain that keeps getting worse, absolutely needs to be checked out by a doctor.
All right, so we've unpacked the science, we know the different types of pain. Now for the part I'm sure you've been waiting for. What can we actually do about it? Let's open up the toolkit and see what our options are. And here's the really good news. There are so many effective ways to handle this. We're talking about everything from medical treatments to really simple but powerful things you can do right at home. Look, there's no single magic bullet for everyone, but trust me, there are a lot of options to explore.
Generally, we can group the solutions into 3 big buckets. First, you've got your medical treatments, things like pain meds or hormonal contraceptives. Then there's all the lifestyle and home care stuff that you have direct control over. And finally, there are alternative methods, which some people absolutely swear by. Let's zoom in on these lifestyle changes for a second, because honestly, they can be game changers. Getting some regular exercise helps your body release its own natural painkillers, endorphins. Using a heating pad or taking a warm bath, that's a classic for a reason. It physically relaxes those uterine muscles. And seriously, don't sleep on diet and stress management. Lowering your stress can literally change how your brain processes pain. Now, what about those over-the-counter pain meds like ibuprofen? Here's the really cool thing about how they work. They aren't just putting a Band-Aid on the pain. No, they go straight to the source. They actually block your body from making so many of those prostaglandins, the very chemicals that cause the cramps to begin with. Okay, we're coming to our last section, and this might just be the most important part of this whole explainer. How do you know? How do you know when your pain crosses that line from just being a bad period to being a real signal that you need to go see a doctor? Here are the red flags to watch for. If your cramps are so bad they stop you from living your life every month, if the pain is getting worse and worse over time, if you suddenly start getting severe cramps after you turn 25, or if you're taking pain relievers and they're just not helping, any of those are a clear sign. It's time to make an appointment. Remember, those could be signs of that secondary type of pain we talked about. And really, if you take away one thing today, let it be this. For way too long, people have been told that debilitating pain is just a natural part of having a period. It's not. Pain that makes you unable to function, pain that puts your life on hold every month, that is not something you just have to accept and live with. So I want to leave you with this question. Is the pain you feel normal, or is it a message from your body? Now that you understand the science, you know the different types, and you know the red flags, you have the power to decode what your body is trying to tell you. And, most importantly, to take action.